The text message came 2 weeks before Christmas. Maybe it's best you skip this year. Dinner is expensive and we know you're struggling. We don't want to embarrass you. Alex Chen stared at his phone, sitting in his brand new Tesla that his parents didn't know he owned, holding paperwork for an $850,000 bonus that his family would never see coming. They thought he was broke. They were about to learn exactly how wrong they were. Alex Chen was 28 years old and had spent his entire life chasing approval from parents who measured love in dollar signs. His father, David Chen, was a successful commercial real estate developer in Boston. His mother, Margaret, came from old money and never let anyone forget it. They lived in a massive colonial in Brookline, belonged to the country club, and measured success by one metric: how much money you made and how impressive your title sounded. Alex's older brother, Marcus, 32, was a senior partner at a corporate law firm pulling in $400,000 a year. He was everything their parents wanted: prestigious career, luxury car, expensive suits, and an engagement to a woman whose family owned half of Cape Cod. Marcus was the golden child. Alex had always been the disappointment. If you've ever been judged by your family for your career choices, if you've ever been made to feel less than because you took a risk, subscribe right now, because what happens when this family discovers the truth will be the most satisfying thing you see all year. Hit that subscribe button, because this story is about to deliver the kind of justice that will make you cheer out loud. 6 months ago, Alex had made a decision that horrified his family. He'd quit his job as a senior software engineer at a stable Fortune 500 company, making a respectable $120,000 a year. The job was secure, the benefits were good, and his parents could brag about him working for a recognizable company name. But Alex was miserable, bored, unchallenged. When his college friend Ryan approached him about co-founding a startup focused on AI-powered supply chain optimization, Alex saw an opportunity. It was risky. It meant taking a massive pay cut initially. It required working 80-hour weeks with no guarantee of success. But it was exciting, innovative, and potentially revolutionary. Alex took the leap. His family reacted like he'd announced he was joining a cult. "You're throwing away your career for a startup?" his father had shouted during a family dinner. "Do you know how many startups fail? You're being irresponsible and foolish." His mother had been even worse, her voice dripping with disappointment. "Alex, honey, this isn't practical. You're not getting any younger. Marcus was already a junior partner at your age. When are you going to grow up and make serious money?" Marcus had laughed outright. "A startup? Dude, that's what 22-year-olds fresh out of college do. You're almost 30. This is embarrassing." They didn't understand that Alex wasn't just an employee. He was a co-founder with significant equity. They didn't ask about the details, didn't care about his vision or passion. They only saw what looked like a step backward, a pay cut, a risk that made them uncomfortable. Over the following months, as Alex poured everything into building the company, his family's condescension intensified. Every family gathering became an opportunity for comparison. "Marcus just closed a $20 million deal," Margaret would announce proudly. Then, turning to Alex with barely concealed pity, "And how's your little computer project going, dear?" At Thanksgiving, when Alex arrived in his old Honda Civic because he was saving every penny to invest back into the company, his father had actually pulled him aside. "Son, this startup thing clearly isn't working out. It's okay to admit failure. I can make some calls, get you interviews at real companies. You need to start thinking about your future." Alex had smiled and said he was fine, that the company was actually doing well. His father had patted his shoulder with the kind of condescension usually reserved for children. "Sure it is, son. Sure it is." What none of them knew, what Alex had kept carefully secret, was that his little computer project had just closed a Series B funding round of $50 million. The company's AI platform had proven so effective that major corporations were fighting to implement it. Venture capital firms were throwing money at them, and as part of the funding terms, the founders were receiving retention bonuses designed to keep them committed through the next growth phase. Alex's bonus, based on his equity stake and role as chief technology officer, was $850,000. After taxes, he was walking away with just over $500,000 in cash. He'd received the news 3 weeks before Christmas, sitting in the conference room with Ryan and their other co-founders, staring at the term sheet like it was written in a foreign language. "We did it," Ryan had said, his voice shaking with emotion. "We actually did it." Alex had celebrated with his team, with friends who understood the tech world, with people who knew how hard they'd worked and how big this achievement was. He hadn't told his family. Something had held him back, a quiet voice suggesting he wait, that their reaction would reveal something he needed to see. That intuition proved correct 10 days later when the text message came from his father. "Maybe it's best you skip this year. Dinner is expensive and we know you're struggling. We don't want to embarrass you. Alex stared at that message for a long time, sitting in the Tesla Model S he'd purchased the week before, parked outside the 3-bedroom condo in Cambridge he'd just closed on but hadn't mentioned to anyone. The text continued, "Marcus is bringing Rachel and her parents. They're important people. We're having the dinner catered from that expensive place in the North End. We know you can't contribute financially, and we don't want you to feel bad about it. Maybe next year when you're back on your feet." There was a family group chat too. Margaret had written, "This year's Christmas will be formal and sophisticated. Please dress appropriately." Marcus had added, "Yeah, Alex, that means not your startup hoodie and jeans." Then his father, "Maybe Alex should sit this one out. No offense, son, but you can't even afford a proper gift for everyone. Save yourself the embarrassment." Alex read those messages 3 times, feeling something cold and hard settle in his chest. Not anger exactly, but clarity. His family hadn't asked how he was doing, hadn't inquired about his company or his life. They'd simply assumed he was struggling, decided he wasn't good enough for their expensive Christmas dinner, and uninvited him to protect themselves from the embarrassment of having a poor family member present. They'd rather exclude their own son than risk him not being able to keep up financially with their standards. The cruelty of it was breathtaking. These were people who claimed to love him, who'd raised him, who should have wanted him at Christmas regardless of his bank account. Instead, they'd calculated his worth and found him wanting. Alex made a decision in that moment. He wasn't going to tell them about the bonus, not yet. He was going to let them show him exactly who they were, and then he was going to show them exactly what they'd lost. He typed a simple response. "Understood. Have a nice Christmas." His mother responded with a crying emoji and, "We love you, honey. This is just for the best." His father sent a thumbs up. Marcus sent nothing. Alex blocked out the date on his calendar and went back to work. He had a company to build and a family to outgrow. 2 days later, the announcement went public. TechVision AI, the startup Alex co-founded, issued a press release about their $50 million Series B funding round. The release named the founders, detailed their backgrounds, and highlighted their vision for revolutionizing supply chain management with artificial intelligence. Within hours, it was picked up by major tech news outlets. TechCrunch ran a feature titled, "TechVision AI Raises $50 million to Transform Global Supply Chains." Forbes published an article naming Alex and Ryan as 30 under 30 candidates to watch. Bloomberg covered the story with an analysis of how the AI sector was heating up, and TechVision was positioning itself as a major player. Alex's LinkedIn exploded. Connection requests from investors, recruiters, other entrepreneurs, journalists. Congratulatory messages flooded in. His profile views went from dozens a week to thousands a day. And attached to that very public profile was his title, co-founder and chief technology officer of TechVision AI, along with his entire work history showing exactly how qualified and successful he'd become. His phone started ringing that evening. Unknown numbers, which he ignored. Then his mother's number, his father's, Marcus's. He watched them ring and go to voicemail, one after another, and didn't answer. He knew exactly what was happening. They'd seen the news. They'd Googled his company. They'd realized their struggling son, who wasn't good enough for Christmas dinner, was actually a tech entrepreneur who'd just helped close one of the year's significant funding rounds in the Boston startup scene. They'd realized they'd made a catastrophic mistake, and now they wanted to fix it. But Alex wasn't ready to let them fix it. Not yet. Have you ever been underestimated by people who should have believed in you? Drop success in the comments if you think Alex should make them sweat. And make sure you're subscribed, because what happens next is going to be absolutely perfect. The voicemails started piling up. His mother's was first, her voice tight with forced casualness. "Alex, honey, I just saw some news about your company. That's so exciting. Call me back. We need to talk about Christmas. I think there was a misunderstanding." His father's was more direct. "Alex, call me immediately. We need to discuss this TechVision situation. Why didn't you tell us about this funding round?" Marcus left 3 voicemails, each one more agitated. "Dude, what the hell? You let us think you were broke? That's messed up. Call me back. Mom and Dad are freaking out." Alex deleted them all without responding. He was in back-to-back meetings all day anyway, working with his team to manage the influx of interest from potential clients and partners. The funding announcement had opened doors they'd been knocking on for months. Major corporations wanted demos. Industry leaders wanted meetings. The company was exploding, and Alex was exactly where he wanted to be. Busy, successful, and surrounded by people who respected his work rather than his bank account. That evening, as Alex was leaving the office, his phone rang again. Unknown number. Against his better judgment, he answered. "Alex Chen." "Alex, finally!" It was his mother, calling from a different number. "Why aren't you answering our calls? We've been trying to reach you all day." "I've been working," Alex said calmly. I have a company to run. What do you need? What do I need? Alex, we need to talk about Christmas. There's been a terrible misunderstanding. Of course you're invited. Your father and I were just concerned about you. We thought you might be stressed about money. We were trying to be considerate. By uninviting me to Christmas? Alex interrupted. By telling me I'm too broke to attend? That I'd embarrass you? Silence on the other end. Then Margaret's voice smaller. We didn't mean it like that. Yes, you did. Alex said. I have the text messages, Mom. Dad said I couldn't afford a proper gift. Marcus made jokes about my clothes. You all decided I wasn't successful enough to sit at your expensive catered dinner with Rachel's important parents. You measured my worth in dollars and found me lacking. That's exactly what you meant. Alex, you're being unfair. Am I? Did you ask me how I was doing before uninviting me? Did you ask about my company, my life, whether I actually needed help? Or did you just assume I was failing and decide to cut me out to avoid embarrassment? More silence. Alex could hear his father's voice in the background trying to grab the phone. Let me talk to him, Margaret. No, Alex said. I don't want to talk to either of you right now. You made your choice based on what you thought my financial situation was. Now you've discovered you were wrong, and suddenly I'm worthy of Christmas again. That's not how family works. That's not how love works. Alex, please. His mother's voice was pleading now, tears evident. We made a mistake. We're sorry. Can't you forgive us? It's Christmas. You didn't make a mistake, Alex said quietly. You revealed who you really are. You revealed what I've always known but didn't want to admit, that your love is conditional. It's based on success and money and status. I was never going to be good enough unless I made partner like Marcus or closed big deals like Dad. And even when I did succeed, I had to do it your way, or it didn't count. That's not true. It is true, and I'm done pretending it's not. Have a nice Christmas with Marcus and Rachel and her important parents. Enjoy your expensive dinner. I'll be fine. He hung up before she could respond, and immediately blocked both his parents' numbers. He felt lighter, like setting down a weight he'd been carrying for 28 years. His phone buzzed with a text from Marcus, sent to his personal number. Dude, seriously? You're going to cut off Mom and Dad over this? They made a mistake. Stop being dramatic. Alex stared at that message, at his brother reducing years of conditional love and judgment to a mistake, telling him he was being dramatic for setting boundaries. He typed back, You knew they uninvited me to Christmas. You agreed with them. You made jokes about me not being able to afford gifts. Now that you know I'm successful, suddenly you care? You're not upset they hurt me. You're upset they embarrassed the family. There's a difference. Don't contact me again. He blocked Marcus too. Let them sit with it. Let them understand that relationships have consequences, that you can't treat people like they're disposable and expect them to come running back when circumstances change. Alex drove home to his new condo, walking through rooms that still smelled like fresh paint, sitting on his new couch in front of his new TV, and felt something unexpected: peace. He'd spent his whole life chasing his family's approval, trying to be successful enough to earn their pride. He'd finally achieved success beyond what any of them expected, and their first instinct was to exclude him when they thought he'd failed. That told him everything he needed to know. The next morning, Alex woke up to discover his parents had shown up at his old apartment, the studio he'd lived in during the early startup days. They'd gotten the address from his emergency contact information and showed up unannounced, only to discover he'd moved months ago without telling them. His landlord, a kind older woman named Mrs. Rodriguez, who'd liked Alex, had called him. Your parents were here, she said. They seemed very upset that you'd moved. They asked for your new address. I told them I couldn't give out that information. Was that correct? Yes, Mrs. Rodriguez. Thank you, Alex said. I appreciate you respecting my privacy. They seemed entitled, she said carefully, like they expected me to tell them everything about you. Is everything okay, Alex? It is now, Alex said. Thank you for calling. His parents tried calling from various numbers throughout the day. When that didn't work, they showed up at TechVision's office. Alex watched from the conference room window as security politely turned them away, explaining that they couldn't access the building without being on the visitor list, and the person they wanted to see hadn't approved their visit. His father's face was red with indignation. His mother looked shocked that they were being treated like strangers. Ryan came up beside Alex, watching the scene unfold. Family? Used to be, Alex said. Ryan knew the basics of the situation, had heard Alex's frustration over the years. They're really losing their minds that you're not answering, huh? They're losing their minds that I'm successful on my own terms, and they missed it, Alex corrected. If I'd actually been struggling, they'd still be fine with excluding me from Christmas. They're only upset because they were wrong, and they look bad. What are you going to do? I'm going to have the best Christmas of my life, Alex said, without them. That night, Alex made reservations at one of Boston's most exclusive restaurants for Christmas Eve dinner. He invited 10 people, Ryan and his wife, 3 other co-founders and their partners, and 2 close friends from college who'd always supported him. He rented a private room, ordered the best wine, and made it clear that price was no object. This was a celebration with people who mattered, people who'd believed in him when it was risky, who'd worked alongside him through the hard times, who genuinely cared about him rather than what he could contribute to their image. He also made a decision about something else. For years, Alex had been quiet about his life on social media, keeping a low profile. His LinkedIn was professional but minimal. His Instagram was private with maybe 50 followers. He'd never been someone who broadcasted his success or his struggles. But watching his family scramble to control the narrative, to minimize their cruelty and paint themselves as misunderstood, Alex realized that silence protected them more than it protected him. It was time to tell his story. 3 days before Christmas, Alex posted on LinkedIn. It was longer than he usually wrote, more personal than he typically shared. But it was honest. A few weeks ago, my family uninvited me to Christmas. The reason? They assumed I was struggling financially because I left a stable corporate job to co-found a startup. They didn't want me to be embarrassed by not being able to afford their expensive catered dinner or buy appropriate gifts. They made this decision without asking how I was actually doing, without offering support if I needed it, without considering that maybe success looks different than they expected. The post continued. What they didn't know is that I'd just received a significant bonus after our Series B funding round. What they didn't understand is that I've been thriving, building something I'm passionate about, working with people who value innovation over appearances. But here's the thing. Even if I had been struggling, even if I'd been broke, I should have been welcome at my family's Christmas table. Love shouldn't be conditional on net worth. Family shouldn't be a club where your membership is revoked if you're not financially successful enough. I share this because I know I'm not alone. How many of you have been judged by family for taking risks? How many have been made to feel less than because you chose passion over prestige, or because you measured success differently than they did? How many have been excluded or diminished because you didn't fit someone else's definition of achievement? The post ended. This Christmas, I'll be surrounded by people who supported me through the uncertain times, who believed in me when the outcome was far from guaranteed, who celebrate my success without having judged my struggles. That's what family should be. Sometimes the family you choose is better than the family you're born into. To everyone else facing judgment or exclusion this holiday season, you're enough. Your worth isn't determined by your bank account or your job title, and anyone who can't see that doesn't deserve a seat at your table. Alex hit post and closed his laptop. He didn't check the response for several hours, busy with end-of-year company meetings and planning for the new year. When he finally looked, his phone was dead from notification overload. The post had gone viral within the tech community and beyond. Over 20,000 reactions, thousands of comments, hundreds of shares. People were sharing their own stories of family judgment, of being excluded for not meeting expectations, of finding acceptance with chosen family instead of biological one. Journalists were reaching out for interviews. Other entrepreneurs were thanking him for speaking up. And buried in all those supportive comments were a few from people who knew his family, people from their social circles in Brookline and the country club, people who'd always thought the Chens were perfect, always thought your family was so warm and close. This is shocking. Your parents seemed so proud of you at the club. I can't believe they did this. Everyone's talking about this. Your mother must be mortified. Alex felt no satisfaction in his family's public embarrassment, but he felt no guilt either. He'd told the truth. If the truth was embarrassing to them, that was their problem, not his. His father tried calling from yet another number, breaking through Alex's blocks. Alex answered. "What do you want, Dad?" "Take down that post." David Chen's voice was harsh, authoritative, the tone he used when he expected to be obeyed. "Right now. You're making the family look terrible. This is unacceptable." "No," Alex said simply. "I didn't lie. I didn't exaggerate. I told exactly what happened. If that makes you look terrible, maybe you should consider why. You're being vindictive and childish. This is revenge because your feelings were hurt. My feelings weren't hurt, Dad. My eyes were opened. There's a difference. You showed me that your love has a price tag attached to it. That's not hurt feelings. That's clarity. I will not be spoken to this way by my own son, David shouted. You're not acting like my father, Alex replied calmly. You're acting like someone who's upset his reputation is damaged. A real father would apologize for hurting his son. A real father would care more about the relationship than about what the country club thinks. But you don't care about me. You care about how my success or failure reflects on you. That is not true. Then why are you only calling now? Why did you wait until you knew I was successful to want me at Christmas? If this was really about love and family, you would have called the day after you uninvited me to apologize. You would have realized immediately that what you did was cruel. But you didn't. You only called after you saw the funding announcement, after you realized you'd misjudged my success. That tells me everything I need to know about what you actually value. There was a long silence. Then David's voice, colder than Alex had ever heard it. Fine. If that's how you feel, don't come to Christmas. Don't come to any family event. You're cutting us off? We're cutting you off too. Let's see how you feel when you need us, and we're not there. I won't need you, Alex said. I haven't needed you in years. I've been building a life without your approval, without your support, without your conditional love. And I've been happy. Happier than I ever was trying to meet your impossible standards. So yes, let's cut each other off. I'm relieved, actually. He hung up before his father could respond, and this time felt nothing but relief. It was done. The last tie was severed. He was free. Christmas Eve arrived bright and cold, one of those perfect New England winter days where everything sparkles. Alex dressed in his best suit, drove his Tesla to the restaurant, and met his chosen family for dinner. The private room was elegant and warm, lit by candles and decorated tastefully. His friends arrived looking happy and excited, hugging him, congratulating him again on the company's success, making jokes and laughing. Ryan stood to make a toast. To Alex, he said, raising his glass, for having the courage to take a risk when everyone told him not to, for being the best CTO and co-founder anyone could ask for building something amazing with us, and for knowing his own worth, even when the people who should have always seen it couldn't. They toasted. They ate incredible food. They told stories and made plans for the new year. Alex looked around the table at these people, this family he'd chosen, and felt gratitude so profound it almost hurt. This was what belonging felt like. This was what unconditional support looked like. This was family. He posted one photo from the dinner on Instagram with a simple caption: Merry Christmas to my real family. Here's to people who love you for who you are, not what you're worth. The post got thousands of likes, including from colleagues, clients, and people he'd never met who'd read his LinkedIn story. His mother somehow saw it, probably through someone who followed him, and sent a long text from yet another number begging him to reconsider, saying they'd made a terrible mistake, that they loved him and wanted him in their lives. Alex read the text and felt nothing. No anger, no pain. Just a distant sadness for what could have been if they'd been different people. He didn't respond. On Christmas morning, Alex woke up in his condo, made coffee, and sat by his window watching snow fall over Cambridge. His phone was blessedly quiet. He'd blocked every number his family had tried to contact him from. He spent the day reading, taking a long walk along the Charles River, video chatting with friends around the country. It was peaceful, simple, and exactly what he needed. That evening, he got a call from Mrs. Rodriguez, his old landlord. I hope I'm not bothering you, Alex, but I thought you should know. Your parents came by again today. They looked very upset. Your mother was crying. They asked me again if I knew where you'd gone. I told them I didn't, but honestly, Alex, they looked devastated. Thank you for telling me, Alex said. I appreciate you continuing to protect my privacy. Are you sure you don't want to talk to them? It's Christmas. They're your parents. They're the people who raised me, Alex corrected gently. But they're not my family. Not anymore. They made that choice when they decided I wasn't successful enough to be included in their lives. I'm just respecting that choice. I understand, Mrs. Rodriguez said softly. I'm sorry, Alex. You deserve better. I'm getting better, Alex said. I have better. That's what they can't seem to understand. The week between Christmas and New Year's was quiet. Alex threw himself into work, helping his team plan for their ambitious expansion in the coming year. His LinkedIn post continued to circulate, sparking broader conversations about family expectations and conditional love. He was invited to speak on a podcast about entrepreneurship and family dynamics. He declined, feeling like he'd said what he needed to say. The new year arrived. TechVision announced 2 major corporate clients, both Fortune 500 companies. Alex's title was updated in the press releases. His professional reputation grew. And with it came a realization. His family's approval, the thing he'd chased his entire life, didn't matter anymore. He didn't need it. He didn't want it. He'd found success on his own terms, built relationships based on mutual respect, created a life he was proud of. Their inability to see it, to celebrate it, to accept it, that was their loss, not his. 6 months after Christmas, Alex received a letter, actual physical mail, forwarded from his old address to his company. It was from his mother. He almost threw it away unopened, but curiosity won. The letter was long, handwritten, and surprisingly honest. Margaret wrote about her own regrets, about how she and David had been raised to value status and money above all else, about how they'd passed that toxicity to their children. She admitted they'd treated Alex unfairly, that they'd been wrong to uninvite him to Christmas, that they'd let their own insecurities and shallow values destroy their relationship with their son. She didn't ask for forgiveness. She didn't beg for another chance. She simply said she understood if Alex never wanted to speak to them again, but she wanted him to know she was sorry, truly sorry for failing him as a mother. Alex read the letter twice. It was the most self-aware thing he'd ever seen from his mother. It was honest about the damage, didn't minimize or excuse it, didn't center her own pain over his. It was, he thought, probably the best apology he could have received. But it didn't change anything. Because the thing about breaking conditional love was that you couldn't go back. Even if they changed, even if they genuinely meant the apology, the trust was broken. The knowledge that their love could be revoked based on external circumstances, that was permanent. Alex couldn't unknow it. He couldn't pretend Christmas hadn't happened. He couldn't forget years of being compared to Marcus, of being made to feel less than, of having his choices judged and found wanting. An apology, even a good one, couldn't erase that. Alex wrote back a short note. Thank you for the letter. I appreciate the honesty. I hope you and Dad find peace with your choices. I found mine. I wish you well, but I won't be resuming contact. Please respect that boundary. He sent it and felt finally closure. Not reconciliation, but closure. The understanding that some relationships end not because of hate, but because they were built on a foundation that couldn't support love. His family had been built on performance, on achievement measured in dollars and prestige. Alex had stepped off that stage. He was building something different now, a life based on passion, authentic relationships, and self-determined success. It was better than anything his family's approval could have given him. So what do you think? Did Alex make the right choice cutting off his family? Should he have accepted his mother's apology? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you've ever been judged by family for your choices, if you've ever had to choose between their approval and your own happiness, drop your story below. Let's build a community of people who chose themselves. And make sure you're subscribed because there are so many more powerful stories about standing up for yourself coming your way. Hit that bell icon so you never miss an upload. Remember, your worth isn't determined by other people's standards. Build the life you want. Surround yourself with people who celebrate you, and never apologize for being successful on your own terms. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.